After the plague of Amwas, nearly more than 25,000 Muslims lost their life, and now Hazrat Amr bin As with his army nearly 4,000 on the march to the great city of Pharaohs, Egypt. But how did Khalifa Umar allow this? How did he allow Amr bin As to march on Egypt when 25,000 Muslims lost their life due to the plague? Khalifa Umar bin Khattab is in Syria. He has come himself after the plague to see the condition of the army, to console the people and to reorganize the lands. And it is here face to face that Amr bin As comes forward. So he stood before Umar bin Khattab and declared, "O Amirul Mu'mineen, the plague has weakened our position in Sham, but Allah has opened a new path before us, the lands of Misr, the land of Egypt, rich, fertile and strategic. If we move forward, we will secure Islam's future and strike a blow to Byzantine from where they least expect it." But Umar bin Khattab shook his head. His voice was heavy with grief. "O Amr, the Muslims have just buried 25,000 of their brothers. Our general have fallen. The army is exhausted. Shall we throw into another war so soon? I cannot allow it." For a time the matter was closed. But Amr bin As did not give up. He kept presenting the case, reminding Umar that Egypt was Byzantine lifeline. If it was taken, Islam's western flank would be secure forever. Finally, after much thought and prayer, Umar relented, but his approval was cautious and conditional. He said, "If you march with wisdom. Do not drag the believers into destruction. I am allowing you to move forward, but hear me well, O Umar. If I change my mind and recall you, then you must return immediately." Hazrat Amr bin As accepted the condition without hesitation. His heart was firm. He reminded the man, "We are not a people who fight for wealth or land. We fight so that the word of Allah may be supreme. Egypt will be ours, not by numbers but by faith." And so, from the ashes of plague and loss, a new chapter began. The Muslim banners, once dimmed by death, were raised once more. Amr bin As led his men westward across the desert towards the mighty Nile. The Byzantines, still recovering from their defeats in Syria, never imagined that the Muslim weakened by plague would dare to march on Egypt. Yet, under Umar's leadership and Amr's daring, history was about to be rewritten. Hazrat Umar bin Khattab, on his way back to Medina, Umar could not free his mind from the thoughts of Egypt. He had allowed Amr bin As to march, but the memory of 25,000 Muslims lost in the plague weighed heavily on his heart. Every step of his journey, his thoughts circled. Have I made the right decision? Is the army strong enough? Should I have held Amr back? The desert wind whispered doubts. Umar's heart was torn between caution and vision. He knew Amr's brilliance as a commander, but he also knew the fragility of the army after such a devastating loss. Again and again he considered sending a letter to recall Amr, to stop him before it was too late. But Amr bin As was already moving swiftly with his men, crossing into the land that would one day carry Islam's banner. And Umar, though worried, placed his trust in Allah's decree. Khalifa Umar bin Khattab finally reached Medina. Umar did not act alone. He gathered his Majlis-e-Shura, the council of senior Sahaba, men like Hazrat Usman, Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Talha, Hazrat Zubair and others. The air was heavy as Umar laid out the matter before them. Amr has gone forward into Egypt. Shall we recall him or shall we let him continue? The companion discussed with great care. Some warned, the Muslims are tired. They have buried too many of their brothers. Another companion will break them. Others argued, But Egypt is the heart of Byzantine strength. If it falls, Allah will open a new door for Islam. Khalifa Umar listened to every opinion in silence. His forehead pressed with thought, his heart still torn between caution and vision. Finally, he said, I will send a letter. If Amr has not yet crossed into Egypt, he must return. But if he has already entered, then let him continue. For Allah's command will be written in what lies ahead. With that decision, Umar sealed his letter and dispatched it toward Egypt. The messenger rode swiftly across the desert, reaching the Muslim army as they were camped near the border of Egypt. Amr bin As welcomed him warmly. He knew at once what the letter might contain. But instead of opening it immediately, he said to the messenger with his usual calmness, You have ridden far and hard. Sit, eat, drink and rest. The messenger agreed and was treated with hospitality, while Amr quietly gave orders to the army, move forward, cross into the land of Egypt at once. By the time Amr finally opened Umar's letter, the Muslim banner were already deep inside Egyptian soil. He gathered the men and read aloud, If you have not yet entered, then return. But if you have already crossed, continue, and may Allah bless your path. Amr smiled, his eyes gleaming with determination. He turned to his men and said, By Allah, we are now in Egypt. This is the will of Allah and the permission of Khalifa. The first major clash came at Pelusium, the gate to Egypt. Amr's forces laid siege. The Byzantines resisted fiercely, but the Muslim discipline, faith, and unyielding passion wore them down. After a hard fight, Pelusium fell, opening the road to the heart of Egypt. Next came Belbis, another fortified city. Here resistance was longer, harsher. Weeks turned into months and the Muslims endured hunger, exhaustion, yet their unity never broke. Finally, Belbis surrendered and the path to the capital lay open. But it was at Heliopolis, near the grand city of Fustat, that the fate of Egypt was truly decided. The Byzantine army gathered in full strength, determined to crush the invaders once and for all. The Muslims, outnumbered, prayed through the night. At dawn, battle erupted. The clash of steel, the cries of men, the thunder of horses filled the desert air. Amr's strategy was brilliant. He divided his troop, lured the Byzantine into pursuit, and then surrounded them in a trap. Victory was swift and overwhelming. The road to Babylon fortress, the greatest stronghold of Byzantine Egypt, was now clear. But the siege of Babylon fortress dragged on. The Romans resisted fiercely from behind their massive stone walls. Arrows rained down, boiling oil was poured, and every attempt of the Muslim to scale the fortress ended in fire and blood. Months passed, and yet the fortress stood firm. Amr bin As, commander of Muslims, realized that his army was too small to capture such a mighty stronghold alone. The men were exhausted. Provisions ran thin and morale weakened, so he sent a letter to Medina to Khalifa Umar bin Khattab. O Amirul Mu'mineen, we stand at the gate of Egypt. The fortress of Babylon is strong and the Romans are many. Send us men, for victory lies only with Allah and then with numbers. When Umar bin Khattab read the letter, he understood the weight of the moment. Egypt was no ordinary land. It was the breadbasket of the Byzantine Empire. If it fell, Islam would gain not only territory but also sustenance. Umar Radhiyallahu anhu replied with wisdom, I am sending you 4 men. Each one of them is equal to 1,000. And so reinforcement came. Among them was Zubair ibn al-Awam, the line of prophet. With his arrival, the siege took a new turn. The Muslims gained fresh spirit, and under the leadership of Amr bin As, they tightened their grip around the fortress. At last, after 4 months of pressure, negotiation opened. The defender, worn down and divided, agreed to surrender. The gates of Babylon fortress fell, and with it, the gate of Egypt opened for Islam. With Babylon fortress fallen, the Muslim marched north to Alexandria, the shining jewel of Egypt and the pride of Byzantine. Alexandria was no ordinary city. It carried the name of Alexander the Great himself, a symbol of ancient power and civilization. Muslims have never attacked such a big city. It was bigger than Madain and Damascus. As the siege dragged on, news arrived that shook the defender to their core. Emperor Heraclius, the mighty ruler of Byzantine, had died suddenly in Constantinople. The city of Alexandria, already worn down by months of siege, now lost the spirit to resist. The soldier who once fought fiercely felt abandoned, their empire too far to save them. Realizing the futility, the gates of Alexandria were finally opened. In 642, the greatest city of Africa, the jewel of Byzantine, surrendered to the Muslim. What began with fear and uncertainty and with Allah's promise fulfilled, Egypt was now under the banner of Islam. When news reached Umar in Medina, the Khalifa bowed his head in sujood, thanking Allah for another victory. The conquest of Egypt was not just a triumph of arms, but a shift in the world's destiny. From the deserts of Arabia, Islam had now entered the cradle of ancient civilization. But Egypt's story did not end with conquest. A strange calamity soon struck. The Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, stopped flowing. Panic spread among the people. For centuries, the Egyptians had believed the Nile would only rise if a sacrifice was offered, a young woman into its waters. The people came to Amr begging to continue the ritual. Amr refused. Islam had come to break the chain of superstition. Instead, Amr wrote a letter to Umar in Medina, explaining the crisis. Umar's reply was short, powerful, and filled with faith. He wrote another letter, not to Amr, but to the Nile River itself. From the servant of Allah, Umar bin Khattab, to the Nile of Egypt. If you flow by your own will, then stop flowing. But if you flow by the command of Allah, the One, the Mighty, then I ask Allah, the Lord of all worlds, to make you flow. Amr took the letter and cast it into the Nile. That very night the water surged. The river rose higher than it ever had in years. Egypt was saved not by superstition, but by the decree of Allah. The people of Egypt saw this and knew Islam had not only conquered their land, but had freed their heart from fear. And so, Egypt, the land of Pharaohs, bowed not to sword or superstition, but to the truth of Islam. From the sand of Arabia to the bank of the Nile, the word of Allah had prevailed. The battles, the strategies, and how a new capital of Islam was born on the Nile River. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, so you don't miss the next chapter in this journey of our history.